It's actually mad because in our generation, you don't really see a lot of people being open to stepping into families or stepping into relationships with people who have kids, yet alone having relationships within itself. Watching Rio and Kate's documentary, really made me think, and it also resonated with me personally because I'm going through something personal myself, which I'm all going to get into on this podcast. But before we do that, so yes, guys, what's happening? It's me, Lamar Aaron. Welcome to the MixKult podcast. Come on. Another episode, another week, and obviously another topic to talk about. Rio and Kate dropped their documentary on BBC, all about step families. And obviously, if we know the story of Rio Ferdinand, we know that Rio Ferdinand lost his wife in 2015. They had, I think, 3 kids together. And obviously, somebody has come into the situation and made Rio happy again. He's remarried and he's in another relationship. And what was very impressive that they made a documentary and they were very, very open to what's actually going on within their household. And obviously, with me, I'm going through something personally, and I wanted this podcast. Like I said, it's called a mix of cultures for a reason. And I feel like not sometimes maybe the generation that I live in or the generation coming up behind don't really have these conversations and are not really, having these types of topics to talk about and discuss about, but they're living it in an everyday life. For me personally, step families are a crazy concept. I was brought up in a household with mum and dad until a certain age of 14, and it went another way. But by then, when you're at like 14, sometimes you're mentally strong enough to deal with certain things. I haven't been a child where I've had to deal with, or would you say a young child having to deal with, two parents being separated, etc. I've seen it with my own eyes, but I have never ever dealt with it myself. Now I am a parent to 2 kids. I'm now dealing with it myself. Unfortunately, I'm not with the mother of my kids. I look after my kids on a full-time basis, and they live with me, and we do what we got to do together. But I've always had a fear in my mind of, I wouldn't say a fear necessarily, but I've always had a doubt in my mind of who's gonna want me, who's gonna, come into my life, and accept me and my kids. And it got me thinking after watching the documentary, and it really made me understand that no, it is possible and it actually can happen. So I wanted to have this conversation on this podcast this time. I kind of want to get into the thought process behind what I got from the documentary that they put out. And I hope, obviously, if people are not willing to go and watch the documentary and they're willing to listen to this podcast, I hope by what I say and the things that I do in this podcast is going to give you something that you can take away, whether you're a man or a woman. So first of all, like I said, let's get into the documentary. The documentary was basically, like I said, based on what it's like being a step family, the problems that they faced, adversity that they faced, and a lot of the common things that I got from Rio was prior before that was exactly what I'm saying. He never thought he would find someone again. He thought it was just going to be him and his kids, and they're just going to keep it moving. And for me, I felt the exact same way, man. I felt like, look, I've got my 2 boys. It's me and the 2 boys, and we're just going to keep it going, and we're just going to do us, right? Then obviously Rio's now met Kate, and Kate has stepped into, and he never, again, he did explain in the documentary, he never thought it would ever happen, ever blossom into anything like that, but it did, and it hit off instantly. And to see that, it gave me, as somebody who's in this situation, a bit of hope to understand that, you know what, maybe I can find someone someday, and so they're gonna love me for me, and they're gonna love me and my kids for who we are. And then it transitioned into going into, they were having problems within whatever they were trying to do within the whole step family, and dealing with kids who's lost their mum. And don't get me wrong, my kids haven't lost their mum in terms of she hasn't passed away. Just the timing of what they spend is very, very limited. So with what they're going through, it made me see, okay, cool, how are these people dealing with it? How is Rio and Kate dealing with it? And to see them go and ask for help, and see them have therapy sessions, to see their children kind of explain how they're feeling, kind of go through sorts of things, being by the graveyard, for God's sake, a lot of it is very hands-on, and a lot of people could say the families of the person who's left, don't get me wrong, the person may leave, but sometimes the family around that is still present. And I got a similar situation like that myself, and how does that affect a dynamic? How do you feel comfortable getting somebody in with you to be, to be a partner to you, but then have your child's partner, or your child's other parents, you know, family see that and look in on that, and it can be a difficult process. So for me, I just kind of want to break down from the thoughts that I've had. So like I said, the thoughts is that I never thought I'd find someone. The thoughts is that, are my kids gonna be happy with who I bring in? Maybe. Are the kids okay? What are they going through mentally? Should we not do this? Should it just be us three? um Also on the flip side as well, like having conversations with females myself, you hear some of them may say, I don't really want to be in a relationship with someone who's got kids, and that can be disheartening for the person who has the kids. I've heard the reasoning of, they want to have children with somebody. Their first child, the first experience of a family and the first experience of a child is they want it with somebody else whose first experience is theirs too. Loads of things that that I've heard, and loads of things that I've thought as well, as being a process in my mind, and I'm sure some of you lot can resonate to that. To then move on to now seeing Rio and Kate married, it makes me think, yeah, this it's possible. It can happen. There is a hope, and I just don't understand why our generation don't have these conversations with people, and if they do, why are they not able to share it with people? For me, I wanted to share mine. I wanted to share how I felt. Like, I feel like, for me, there's people out there that could be such an amazing benefit to me and my kids. But what I want people to understand, especially from where I'm coming from anyway, I don't know about others, but me as a parent, I don't expect you to come in my life and take care of my kids. They're my kids. They're my responsibility. I don't expect you to come in and play a mum role. I don't expect that from you. If you want to do those things, I would never shut that down. No problem. If you want to take my kids out and we're at a point in our relationship where that's a possibility, I don't mind that happening, no problem. But I don't expect it. I don't expect you to do PE kits. I don't expect you to feed my kids every day. I don't, that's my responsibility. That's my job. So for me, that's a stigma that I really don't like. I don't like that a lot of people do look in on families, or looking on somebody who has kids and expect they're gonna be uh like a parent. Like, you're probably gonna be a figure in the child's life. They're gonna look up to you in a certain way for sure. However, they're not gonna rely on you to be a parent, because that, like I said, that's my job to do. And I think that's one of the big misconception that the generation, or the age group that you could say from 18 till about, I would say 28, 29, that's the misconception that I think a lot of people have, is that they look at people with kids and they think, oh, I got to be a dad, or I've got to be a stepdad, or I've got to be a stepmom, or this and that. For me, I don't think that's the case. I just think what it is for me, especially, and I've had conversations with females who have kids themselves, is, do you have that expectancy? But not only that, what they say to that is that, a lot of the time, I don't care if the person's trying to do stuff with my kids or take them out or be that's not what we're asking for. But what we are asking for is to understand that we do have kids. Understand that some of our choices may be different to maybe a choice that you may be with someone who doesn't have kids. Our choices are very much, our kids are involved in those choices, in terms of maybe dating. We may not be able to date as much, or go out to places as much, or I may not be able to spend frivolously. I may not be as spontaneous as you may like me to be, simply because I have the dynamic of kids. And I don't think that's a problem. I think a lot of people should be, do you know what? I like that person, whether she had kids or not, and I understand her situation. Now, I do understand that, that situation isn't for everybody, but I think, the reasoning should be a little bit of those things. Let's just put it plain and simple, and just say, look, to be honest with you, I understand you have kids, and because I understand that you have kids, that this is not for me. Or the other way round is, no, I like her that much. I understand she's got kids, and I'm willing to say, do you know what? I understand we can't be spontaneous. I understand that we can't, just be frivolous and go out anywhere, or I can't just roll up to your house because your kids are there. So I think that's another misconception I think a lot of people do not understand is to be understanding to the other person who has kids. Um, and again, I just think that's something that should be said. That's a conversation that 100% needs to be had. Like for me, the stat is crazy. To have 1 in 3 families are step families, and I would love, maybe it's just because of the situation I'm in, I don't know, but I would love to get people in the mindset and the mind frame of it's okay to be a part of someone else's family, especially if you have a bond and a vibe with the person. Like if I met somebody who has kids too, don't get me wrong, it's a lot easier because I've got kids. However, let's scratch it. Let's say I didn't have kids and I went into a situation. Why can't I vibe with this person? If we do catch a little vibe, just because she's got kids, it doesn't make it any different, really and truly. It may be a tiny bit different actually. It might have a different spectrum to it. However, as long as you and the person vibe, I don't understand what's wrong with accepting with what comes with that. Again, we're not expecting you to be parents. We're not expecting you to step up in a dad way or a mum way. We're not expecting any of those things. Because that is, for me, that's my responsibility, as I said. 100% my responsibility. So to hear Rio and Kate's story about what they go through, about getting help, and another thing that was quite amazing to see on that documentary was simply that like that parents outside of it had the problem. Like to see Rio's dad be the way he was, it's 100% understandable because his interest is his grandkids too. His interest is making sure that his grandkids are okay. And this woman who's coming into this family needs to be equipped to understand that this is hard and you can't just leave. You can't just, this is something that may be a different realm. This is something that you may have to, be a part of. And to see Rio's dad apply quite a bit of pressure. Don't get me wrong. That you could see there was a lot of pressure onto Kate to be in. Oh, are you as good as their mum? Are you gonna be like their mum? And are you gonna be this? Are you gonna be that? And I think for me, that's Kate's personal choice. And Kate has made the choice to say, do you know what? No, they are my kids. No, they are. I am going to look after them like they are mine. I do take them to school. I do pick them up. And that was amazing to see. But I don't want people to look at that and think that's exactly what becoming a step family is, because not necessarily. I feel like over time you'll develop love for those kids, but initially in those things, nobody is asking or expecting you to do anything. Genuinely, for me, like that's just how I feel. I don't think there is a reason for you guys to do anything. What I would love to know with this podcast as well is in any comment section or over Twitter or anything like that. You can at me at Lamar Aaron _ on Twitter, and make sure you use the hashtag MixKult podcast. Is what are your views on stepping into a relationship with somebody who has kids? Like, why does it scare you? Why is it something that is a fear for you? Why is it something that you're not willing to be open to? Do you have a misconception of it? Because that's what I think everything is down to. Do you have the knowledge of what this is about? Do you even understand it? Because before you can make a judgment on something, I think you should understand it first. Understand where this person who has the kids is standing from. What are they expecting from you? Are they even expecting anything from you? I just think it's quite unfair that a lot of people with kids get judged straight away. No one should be judged for what they have. And for me, and again, nobody should be judged for not wanting to be in those situations. I fully just trying to understand why it's like that. For me, again, 2 kids, feeling like I'm limited to who I can talk to. I'm limited to who I can have a conversation with and a vibe with because I've got kids. I mentioned my kids from the start, from the get-go. I'm not the type of person to hide them at all. If I'm talking to somebody, I'm gonna say, look, I have kids. You can see it on my Instagram. I have kids. Like you're gonna know I've got kids, but that I would hate the fact that that would be a barrier for anybody to have to deal with. And I just want people to know from the generation of 16 to 28, 29, or if you are even a little older, don't feel like you having kids is going to stop you. You will find somebody will be there for you. Somebody will want you as you. And if they're willing to be a part of your family too, they'll make the decision of what type of parent they want to be. But I do feel like if you do have the kids, let the person who you are bringing in, let them be the type of step parent they want to be. Let them be the step parent they want to be. If they want to be the step parent where they're allowing you to, you do you. I ain't disciplining them. I don't want to discipline them. I'm not trying to overstep any lines. I'm just here for your support, and I'm here to support the kids if they need a little bit of advice. Or if the person says, no, I am willing to be a father figure in their life, I am willing to take them out, I am willing to, or a mother figure, I am willing to take them out and do the school runs with you. I am willing. I feel like the choice, let the other person have the choice of what type of parent they want to be. I don't think you should be expecting, somebody to come off that angle. So for me, that's kind of where I stand on that documentary. I feel like that documentary was definitely an eye opener. And like I said, I just wanted to give my opinion and kind of give my thoughts on that type of topic of step families, as it is something personally that I am going through myself. Let me know what you guys think. As I said, we are on Spotify, so make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow. Also, you can subscribe over on Apple Podcasts, and make sure you follow my personal YouTube channel, which is Lamar Aaron, where you can find like the YouTube clips and the videos on there. Also, follow me on Instagram, because as I said on the last podcast, we will be putting out some merchandise very, very soon. So make sure you guys get onto that and make sure you guys support. But that's it for now, man. I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you guys think about step families. What is your views? What is stopping you? What is your fears? Why do you not want to get into those things? Why do you guys not have the conversations? Let me know what you guys think. And like I said, I'll catch you on the next one. Come on.